Boris Johnson is once again using Brexit to undermine somebody in a place that he wants to be. And in this case, he wants to come back as Prime Minister. I'm citing people in your party, in his party. And he sees this as a way of undermining Rishi Sunak. Just listen to what George Osbourne, former Conservative Chancellor, said about Boris Johnson last night on Channel 4.
Rishi Sunak should be applauded for trying to solve this mess from the past that he's inherited. But he mustn't make the mistake that basically Theresa May made and David Cameron and I made before, which is to think that Boris Johnson is interested in the issues. Boris Johnson is interested in becoming Prime Minister again. And as you saw with the Brexit referendum, or you saw with the Chequers Agreement, if you can remember that, with Theresa May, if you wait for Boris Johnson to do the sort of grown-up, sensible thing, he's not going to do it if he thinks there's a political opportunity in causing trouble. And he wants to bring down Rishi Sunak, and he will use any instrument to do it. And if the Northern Ireland negotiations are that instrument, he will pick it up and hit Mr. Sunak over the head with it.
I think that's extremely harsh, and it overlooks the fact that at the heart of the protocol there are issues where you either have a border. This is the problem with Brexit. I was against Brexit. I would still vote against it tomorrow, because in the end you either have a border in the Irish Sea, so you put up a blockade between part of the UK and Northern Ireland, or you have a border in Northern Ireland, which spells disaster. But with both options, there are big issues, and I understand why for some people it's deeply, profoundly offensive to have a border between one part of the UK and the other.
I'm just going to get you away, if I can, from the
issue,
Northern Ireland Protocol.
From the issue.
He's being very Tony Benn, saying it's about it's about issues, not personalities.
What you've heard is a former Conservative Chancellor levelling a charge at a former Prime Minister.
Who loathes Boris Johnson because they were both rivals and they both wanted to be Prime Minister, and Boris became Prime Minister and George did not. And at the Olympics in 2012, 60,000 people lined up in Hyde Park to chant Boris, and he went along. George Osbourne went to the Olympic Stadium and got booed. So this is deep rivalry. So just worth bearing that in mind. But
that's all it is.
Well, obviously there are issues with this. A lot of people in the party feel strongly about the protocol. I won't deny that. And they see Boris as somebody who's going to fight their corner.
But Gitto, just because George Osbourne loathes Boris Johnson doesn't mean he's wrong in the analysis.
That he wants to come back.
Yeah.
Still
see him regularly.
I'm not going to sit here and say if the ball came loose from the back of the scrum, that he'd pick it up again and run with it, to use an analogy he ran before.
You are going to say that. You're saying that he might want to.
Boris
Johnson might want to come back.
Loose from the back of the scrum. But is he trying to sort of muscle in on the scrum? Is it not a scrum but a ruck, and he's going to pile on in there? No.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.